Oh, So, I think a lot of guys out there have always desired to ride motorcycles, but they never did because they never got a chance, or they were scared, or they heard many things that made them not want to do it, like it's dangerous, um, you'll get into an accident, people die in motorcycles. Well, I guess that's the reason why I'm talking to you today. I was one of those guys who just looked and looked and looked and, wondered, wow, what would it feel like to be on a bike, riding down the mountain roads with the wind blowing through my body, my head, my face. It would be nice, probably, right? Uh, Hi, I'm now about to turn 61 years old, and I'm gonna make this confession video. I finally decided that enough of this fantasy of riding motorcycles, and I'm gonna do it. So, this is my story. I'm a doctor, an eye doctor, practicing here in Philippines. I've been doing ophthalmology since about 1993. Uh, but that's not the story. The story is sometime in 2018. I said, "Whoa, why don't I ride motorcycle? So how do I start?" I said, "No, I can't imagine myself buying a big bike right away. So what am I gonna do?" I have a long background of riding mountain bikes and um, racers. So that was my sport. I would ride up and down the hills here in Negros almost every day. So I think I said to myself, I think you have a good sense of balance, and you know how it is on the road with other cars, with other vehicles like cars and trucks. So why not, right? So in 2018, I said, okay, let's start with what? A scooter. So I bought this very small scooter, a 150cc Yamaha Xmax, and bought gear, jacket, helmet, and started riding the scooter around the hills around my city. So it was very fun and very easy to manage. My height is about 5'9" and a half, so with riding boots, I could flat foot the scooter. So I would start riding around the village, then got more brave. I rode to the supermart outside the village. Then finally I said, okay, there's this destination about an hour away from where I live, behind the airport. It's all hills. It's a technical ride. So I said, okay, let's do it. Let's ride the scooter up the hills. So it's very fun. So within about 3 or 4 months, I had the scooter down, mastered. No spills, no injuries. Uh, a weird thing happened. A friend of mine wanted also to ride. So one day he came to the house and said, "Here, I'll buy your scooter. Here's a check. Uh, I devalued it a little bit, but you're not gonna lose anything." And he says, "Go over to the Yamaha and buy a bigger scooter because you've mastered this already." So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." So I went to the Yamaha store, Blip, and bought this. There. See this? This is a large scooter, much bigger than the Xmax. This is the the Nmax, sorry. This is the Yamaha Xmax. It's 300cc and its weight is, it weighs like a medium-sized big bike. It's about 185 kilos. The Xmax was about, I think, estimate just 100 kilos. So I got on this big scooter and started riding it. And that began another adventure. I was able to go further, faster, and made more friends because the Xmax was also one of the bikes that people who had bigger bikes, they owned Xmaxes. So sometimes I would ride with them and I would mingle with people with bigger bikes. So that went on for about 2 years. We did long rides on this. We did like 200 to 400 kilometer rides. Bacolod to Dumaguete is about 160 kilometers. We would do Bacolod, Dumaguete, and back. We would do North Loop, reach about Sagay, and then we would do a lot of short climbs up Silay, Mount Patag. That's about maybe 20 kilometers, 30. So I got to master riding a bigger bike through the Xmax. So again, after about 2 years, I said, what would it feel like to ride a bike with clutch and gears? So, like the big bikes. So when you do this thing, your ambitions become higher. First, just to ride, then ride something else bigger. So, but I wasn't ready to ride a big bike. So what I did was, I said to myself, why don't you buy a bike that's light but it has gears? So the next bike I bought was this. This is the Yamaha Serow. It's 250cc. It's classified as a dual sport. Um, Dual sport means it can do both road and trail. But interestingly, this turned out to be a very good bike because it can really do trail. It can go in the worst of the trails, and uh, you can have fun with it with the rest of the trail bikes. So this was my next step. I learned how to do clutch, how to do everything you can do with a regular bike on this Yamaha Serow. So I rode this for about 1,500 kilometers until I was very confident in shifting. And then I said, oh, maybe you can handle now a big bike, a mid-sized bike. So one day I was in the Benelli showroom, and there was the Benelli TRK 502. The price was good, so I said, okay, let's move up to this bike. So I brought out the Benelli. Again, learned from it. It was a much heavier bike. This time it came up to about 260 kilos. It was a big transition from the Serow, because with the Serow, even if you tilt it a big tilt on each side, you can still handle it. You can still use your legs to push yourself back to center. With the Benelli, it wasn't so. Once you go beyond maybe 15 degrees tilt angle on one side, the whole bike will drop. And there's nothing you can do about it. Just let it drop, get out of the way, and find somebody or some people to help you push it back up. So after the Benelli, I had it for about 8 months. Then I said, again, maybe I should be riding a lighter, more maneuverable bike, and with a little bit more power than the Benelli. So that brings us now to the third bike in my the fourth bike in my life. That's the mountain bike. That was the past. So here we have now the new. I decided on the Versys 650 by Kawasaki. This is a unique bike because it cannot be classified as a pure adventure bike, because look at the tires. The tires are like street tires as compared to the knobbies you'll see in a bike that can go down really severe dirt road. But yet it has a very high clearance, one of the highest clearance in its class, and it's got a really good engine. And now the new Versys has a lot of new features like traction control, ABS, and that makes it in a class in itself. It's really a very nice bike to ride. And coming from the Benelli, I felt it's smaller and lighter. So this is my touring bike for the moment. It's perfect for Negros, or for Philippines for that matter, because it can handle rough road. It can't handle dirt road like what the mountain bike, like the mountain bike and the Serow does. But when you're driving around the small roads and then suddenly the road becomes, the cement disappears and it's rough road, the bike is beautiful. It can take the rough road. The shocks are really good, and I think it's one of the bikes that are very ideal for Philippine touring. So guys, this is my first attempt at blogging, as what the young people would call it. I'm a senior citizen who decided late in life that he wanted to go motorcycling, and that's my story of how I ended up with the skills and the courage to ride a classified big bike now, the medium-sized, how do you call this? It's a sport tourer, one of the premium sport tourers in the world, the Kawasaki Versys 650 2022 model. Thank you and good day. I'll try to post more Versys video adventures.